There was a lot of pushback to this AI first push, and I wonder, what your response is to some of the concerns that have been raised about how this impacts the humans.
Whenever there is some job that can be done by AI, and it can be done really well, then we're unlikely to hire contractors to do that job.
That sentence came at the end of a stretch where Duolingo had, by the numbers, the best year in its entire history. Over 50 million people opened the app every single day, more than $1 billion in bookings for the first time ever, and they were making over 50% in profit. Shortly after, the stock price plummeted. The community that had made the owl famous turned on them immediately, and the CEO admitted in public to investors that Duolingo had squeezed its users way too hard. His exact word for it was over-monetization. Duolingo was founded in 2011 by a man named Luis von Ahn, and the mission statement was free education for the world. On the surface, that's kind of noble, I guess, but the whole thing was a veil for a money-making scheme designed to hold users' attention and build habits. For years, they were wildly successful and their strategy worked without issue, but that didn't last forever though, and eventually, it abandoned the mission entirely.
What we've done is that we've used the same psychological techniques that apps like Instagram, TikTok, or mobile games use to keep people engaged, but in this case, we use them to keep people engaged, but with education. Now, to give you an idea of the power of streaks, in the case of Duolingo, we have over 3 million daily active users that have a streak longer than 365. That means they haven't missed a day in the last year or longer. On the one side, streaks have been criticized for example, getting teens addicted to Snapchat. But in the case of an educational app, streaks get people to come back to study every day.
At its core, Duolingo is an algorithm designed to hold a user's attention in a way that made whatever they were actually doing feel like something else. Luis von Ahn built it 2 other times before Duolingo, and it works exceptionally well. Von Ahn grew up in Guatemala City, came to the US for school, and ended up doing his PhD at Carnegie Mellon, where in the early 2000s, he helped invent CAPTCHA tests. Then he had the insight that made his entire career. Hundreds of millions of people were typing these little tests every day and spending 10 seconds at a time, and all of that effort was just completely going to nothing. So he built recaptcha, which swapped the random squiggles for words scanned out of old books and newspapers that computers couldn't read. While someone was logging into their email, they were working for free to help digitize the archives of the New York Times, one blurry word at a time, but completely for free. Google bought recaptcha in 2009, and von Ahn gave a TED talk about it where he was completely open about the design. He called it a massive scale online collaboration. It was such a large workforce, doing it for free, that it is a weird gray area. So in 2011, he took the same blueprint and pointed it at education. Duolingo, co-founded with his PhD student Severin Hacker, launched to the public in 2012 with a genuinely radical pitch, a full language course, completely free with no ads forever. The way it would pay for itself was pure recaptcha logic. As you practiced, you'd translate real sentences from the actual web, and Duolingo would sell those translations to companies such as CNN and BuzzFeed. Both of them signed on as customers. Students learned Spanish, while CNN got its articles translated into Spanish. Everybody won, and nobody had to pay. On its face, that really was a clever idea. Von Ahn told interviewers that he built Duolingo because he grew up watching poverty in Guatemala lock people out of education, and I have no reason to question that, quite frankly. Millions of people doing a small thing over and over, believing it's for them, while the value flows somewhere else seems way too good to be true if you ask me. The translation business quietly died though within a few years because it turns out learners produce mediocre translations at best, and Duolingo needed a new answer to the only question that matters for a free product, which is who's paying for it, because frankly nothing in life is actually free. They came to an answer alright, and it's exactly what this video is about.
Yo, is that the Duolingo owl?
Michael, don't go near that thing.
What's up, little man?
Michael, seriously, dude, stop. Konnichiwa.
Dude, he came here to give us lessons in person. This is so cool. Konnichiwa, little man.
Ko.
Ni.
Chiwa.
Chiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
The new funding model, like everything else on social media, was user attention. Who would have guessed? Through the mid-2010s, Duolingo rebuilt itself around game mechanics, points, leagues, leaderboards, and the streak system, a little flame counting your consecutive days logging into the app. The streak is one of the most effective retention mechanics in consumer software history, and the reason is that it weaponizes the consequences of not using the app every single day without fail. After 30 days, you're opening the app because a missing day destroys something that you built. The company knows exactly what it has. Years later, Duolingo would tell its own investors users that more than 10 million users held streaks of over a year. 10 million people who had not missed a single day in over a year. That stat is in a shareholder letter presented as a triumph, and from a business standpoint, it absolutely is. Enforcing everything was the owl. It started as nothing more than a logo, but the mascot began relentlessly notifying users if they dared not log in. It was in a way that felt personal, and around 2017, the internet turned him into a villain. These lessons aren't going to do themselves. Memes of Duo waiting outside your house, Duo holding your family hostage over your Spanish streak. When faced with users portraying its mascot as a stalker, Duolingo didn't push back. It actually hired social media people who leaned all the way in. The official accounts made the owl unhinged on purpose, gave him lore, and gave him a one-sided obsession with the pop star Dua Lipa, then built him into one of the biggest brand characters on TikTok. The joke the users invented, that the app psychologically torments you, became the company's marketing strategy completely in its own right. Let me point out what the joke is actually about in case you somehow forgot though. The app is designed to make you feel bad and guilty for not opening it every single day. Everyone thinks it's hilarious, and some of them are somewhat funny, but the app is sending personal messages to users every day to guilt them because they aren't opening the app. By 2021, Duolingo went public on the NASDAQ, and the model was locked in. The free course brought in tens of millions of people, and the streak kept them there. Ads ran on the free users, and a growing slice started paying for subscriptions. The gap between the mission, which was free education for the world, please don't forget, and the actual product, which is just engineered guilt at an international scale, was already wide. In 2025, shit hit the fan, or more accurately, a Cybertruck did.
If you've been online recently, you've probably seen something the internet has been buzzing about.
Duolingo is dead.
I am on Duo is Dead TikTok.
Why is he dead? Why is he dead?
The death of Duolingo's mascot, the fuzzy green owl known as Duo. The killer stunt sending shockwaves across social media.
On February 11, 2025, Duolingo announced that Duo, the owl mascot, had died. The official statement said, "It is with great sorrow that we announce the passing of our beloved mascot, Duo the owl," and claimed he may have died waiting for you to do your lesson. The app icon changed to a corpse with the eyes X'd out, tongue hanging out, and it was on hundreds of millions of people's phones. A follow-up video revealed the cause of death. Duo had been run over by a Tesla Cybertruck. Other Duolingo characters mourned him on TikTok. When X posted a tribute, Duolingo replied, "Both killed by a Cybertruck," and the PR director has said in interviews that the legal team signed off on this tweet before it was sent out. Somewhere there's a lawyer who approved a Cybertruck manslaughter joke for Duolingo to post publicly on their accounts. The numbers were unlike anything in brand marketing history for the most part. Mentions of the owl spiked over 25,000% in one day. The hashtag #RipDuo surpassed 45,000 uses. Dua Lipa herself posting condolences, "Till death Duo part," and that generated hundreds of thousands of engagements. Over the 2 weeks of the campaign, Duolingo's channels pulled 1.7 billion impressions, and by the company's own research, its death generated about twice the social conversation of any top 10 Super Bowl ad that year. And this was days after the actual Super Bowl, by the way. Behind the scenes, the origin story is even better. The PR trade press later reported that when the marketing team pitched the concept, Von On's note was, and I quote, "Make it fun and weird, then on the next iteration, make it way weirder." The most insane part of this whole situation is how Duo came back to life. Duolingo launched a page where users could resurrect the owl by collectively earning 50 billion XP. XP is exclusively earned by doing lessons. The resurrection of the mascot was an engagement drive first and foremost, and it worked insanely well. Users piled up more than 50 billion XP, which at roughly 10 XP a lesson is in the range of over 5 billion lessons. On February 24th, the owl climbed out of its own coffin with the caption, "Legends never die." A year later, in an SEC filing, Duolingo explained a tough growth comparison by noting that daily active users had spiked 49% in early 2025 because, quote, "We benefited from our dead Duo campaign." The funeral had a direct profit motive. They filed it with the federal government and everything. If you're enjoying this video so far and would like to see more like it in the future, like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications. It would help a shit ton. Thank you. February 2025 was the peak, by the way. The stock hit an all-time high in that spring, and then over the next 9 months, Duolingo set it all on fire in 3 extreme ways, and we're going to go through all 3 of them right now.
Luis, you told your team that nobody gets hired unless team proves AI can do the work first. Can you tell me how you actually track that?
Our goal here is to use AI to benefit our users. Internally, we have this golden rule. We're only going to use AI to benefit our learners. Some people may imagine that some companies may be firing people and having AI do their job. That's not what we're doing whatsoever. Our team has gotten significantly better at using AI over the last couple of years, and that has allowed us to do a lot more. It has allowed us to put out a lot more content, a lot more learning content, etc. we as a management team are not necessarily tracking like, oh, are you doing something that AI can do or not? We're just really trying to tell everyone, try to be as efficient as possible with AI, and our employees are doing that.
The first disaster was one single email. In late April 2025, Von Ahn sent an all-hands memo declaring Duolingo an AI-first company, and then, in what the company clearly believed was a transparency move, it posted publicly on LinkedIn. The memo said Duolingo would gradually stop using humans to do the work that AI can handle, and said that teams would only get a new headcount if they couldn't automate more of their work. It said that AI use would factor into hiring and performance reviews, and claimed the company would accept, quote, small hits on quality in exchange for moving fast. Around the same time, Von Ahn went on a podcast and said AI is a better teacher than humans, and described the future role of teachers as something closer to providing childcare. He said this while running an education company. That is just so stupid that I need to make sure that we all understand just how stupid it is. The backlash was immediate, and it came from the exact audience the owl had spent a decade cultivating. Duolingo's TikTok and Instagram, the crown jewels of the brand, were flooded with comments about firing contractors who wrote the courses. On a video of a baby owl plushie asking, "Mama, may I have a cookie?" the top comment was, "Mama, may I have real people running the company?" with a broken heart emoji. Users posted their streak counts hundreds or even thousands of days and then deleted the app in the same recording. The issue with building a parasocial mascot is that the parasocial audience takes any slight betrayal very personally. A month later, Von Ahn walked it back on LinkedIn. To try and clarify things, he wrote, "I do not see AI as replacing what our employees do. We are in fact continuing to hire at the same speed as before." By August, he was telling the New York Times that he hadn't given enough context, while insisting that no full-time employees had ever been laid off. Though notably, he never denied the contractor cuts, saying instead that the contractor workforce has always gone up and down depending on needs. The company introduced a weekly AI experimentation ritual that Von Ahn named, this is 100% real by the way, FRAI days. By his own admission, he doesn't know how to pronounce it. And this April, a year after the memo, he quietly dropped AI usage from the performance reviews entirely, telling a podcast, "I'm not going to force you." He switched up radically, and he asked everyone to just forget it and move on. People obviously weren't going to, but the issues just got way worse from here.
In just a few days, it turned into one of the most hated apps on the internet.
Oh no! Everyone's deleting Duolingo!
People aren't just deleting it, they're rage posting, even flooding reviews with one-star bombs. But why? Duolingo scammed the world by charging $30 a month for free language education, replaced 100 real teachers with glitchy AI, and the wildest part, they tried to cover it all up like nothing ever happened. So, how did Duolingo go from having the world's most beloved owl to triggering a global meltdown no one saw coming?
For years, the price of free users was the heart system. You get 5 hearts and you lose 1 every time you make a mistake. Run out and you're locked out of the lessons until you wait, practice, spend gems, or subscribe. Language teachers already hated this system for an obvious reason, which is that making mistakes is one of, if not the most important aspect to learning anything, especially, a language. In 2025, Duolingo began replacing hearts with energy, and energy works like this. You get 25 units. Every question costs energy whether you get it right or wrong. You can answer perfectly for 3 straight lessons and still hit a wall. Then your options are wait most of a day, spend your saved gems, watch ads, or subscribe. Duolingo's blog framed it as healthier learning habits and positive reinforcement, pointing out that beginners were twice as likely to run out of hearts mid-lesson. Users did the math instantly though, obviously. Hearts punished mistakes, but energy punished usage outright. The most upvoted response on the Duolingo subreddit put it in 6 words, so now we're punished for using the app. That thread pulled thousands of upvotes, while the subreddit's own volunteer moderators, who had already staged a revolt earlier in the year over the AI push, watched people with multi-year streaks post their goodbyes. One user on X summarized the community position perfectly. Give us hearts back or the owl gets it. Here's the context that makes the energy make sense, at least as a business decision, of course, not actual care in any way. In mid-2020, around 3% of Duolingo's monthly users were paying for a subscription. By mid-2025, it was over 8%. That's what took the company to a multi-billion-dollar valuation, simply putting more ads, upselling, and finally a battery system that drains whether you get answers wrong or not. The idea was free education for everyone, and by 2025, all that was left was a free demo with a hard limit that was not productive in any way. And in November, the market finally found out what all of those issues were about to cause.
In this user expansion, how much of the plan is around expanding what you teach? I mean, I've always thought of Duolingo as for languages, but, courses on math and music and chess. why did you add those areas, and sort of is your vision of Duolingo's future to be more expansive?
We may not teach everything, but we want to teach the subjects that are meaningful to you that also take a long time to learn. Math is an example, languages is an example, music is an example. Chess, even though it's our newest subject, has gotten the most traction outside of languages.
Interesting.
Languages by far are still the biggest. And languages, the other thing that sometimes people in the United States may not understand is just how big language learning is in the world. There's about 2 billion people in the world learning English. I don't know of a subject, including math, that has as many people learning it. Math, there's about 1 billion people learning math. So languages is the largest thing. Chess is the second largest for now for us, but I believe that over time, math is going to overtake chess. That's my hope. At the moment, no numbers support my hope, but that's my hope.
The third factor, which was essentially the final nail in the coffin, was simply just the truth. On November 5th, 2025, Duolingo reported earnings that were on paper absolutely amazing. 50 million daily active users for the first time, revenue up 41%, and on the same call, Von Ahn announced a pivot. Less focus on squeezing money out, more focus on his phrase, teaching better. He admitted daily active user growth was slowing and refused to say how long the fix would take. The next day, the stock fell more than 30%. Roughly $4 billion of value were gone in a single session. The unhinged marketing went quiet around this same time, which tells you the company understood that the app had crossed lines they really couldn't reverse. February 26, 2026 was worse. Duolingo closed the books on its best year in history and then moved on to the worst and possibly final one. The stock dropped roughly another quarter within a few hours and another third for the year within 2 months. Von Ahn's statement committed 2026 to deliberately prioritizing user growth and teaching better, even though, quote, it moderates near-term monetization. In the analyst coverage that week, the admission got way blunter. The company acknowledged that it had over-monetized its users. The friction tactics were, in Von Ahn's words, at odds with growth. A language company announcing that its priority next year will be teaching better is a company that's admitting what the priority was before, whether they wanted it to come off that way or not. The fixed list was basically an apology written as a product strategy, longer free trials, premium AI features pushed down to cheaper tiers, and a better free experience. It also said that $400 million would be used for a buyback to calm everyone down, plus a promise of 100 million daily users by 2028. Circling back to May 4th, 2026, first quarter results showed that Duolingo beat every single number Wall Street had set for it. Profit beat by 25%, 56.5 million daily users. Their free cash flow margin was over 50%, a number most software companies would kill for. The stock still fell 14% anyway, because the market no longer believes a single word of their mission statement. On the same call, Von Ahn was quoted as saying, "We are at the same time under-monetized and over-monetized. It's a weird thing." Let me translate that for you. Under-monetized because out of nearly 138 million monthly users, only about 12.5 million actually pay, so there's an ocean of money the company hasn't taken yet. Over-monetized because the methods used to take it were driving people away from an app whose entire value is that people show up every day. Duolingo built the best attention machine in consumer software and is now spending the year 2026, in its own words, learning how to teach again. 50 million people will open the app today. The streaks will tick up and the owl will send his threats. Duolingo's original model made them a lot of money, but then they figured out how to make generational money. Unfortunately though, like most others, the pursuit of profit was what led to the explosive meltdown they experienced years later.
Has your family been taken by a corporate mascot? Were you extorted by an enormous green owl? Have you been physically or emotionally injured by Duolingo? Did you want to learn a new language but lost your streak and your loved ones? Did you receive disturbing threats such as Spanish or vanish, French or the trench, Japanese or broken knees? If you're a victim of the Duolingo owl, you're not alone. Hi, I'm Peter Francis Manchetti, attorney at law. Over the past decade, I've recovered 537 family members, friends, and precious pets from Duo. Now let me and my elite team of legal professionals at Manchetti & Sons LLC fight for you.